Welcome back to the 12th House Podcast. I'm Michelle, your host and the head witch in charge at Holisticism. And, do we have a good episode for you today? It is so good. I can't wait for you to listen. Before we get into it, before I get into my just inimitable guest, I want to talk about some things that are happening because it's Aries season, which is the beginning of the zodiac. Technically, it's the spring, feels like it. And I don't know about you. So I'm a triple water. I'm sure you're aware. I feel like it's like my personality. I mention it all the time. I even get annoyed at myself how often I talk about it, but I just feel it so deeply. It's Aries season. Aries is fire season, and the triple water in me is like quaking in my boots, but I also secretly like love Aries. I dated an Aries once. It was really intense. There's a lot of yelling, but it was really fun. I'll say it was really fun until it wasn't fun. But I like Aries season, even though it scares me a little bit because it's a little spicier than maybe I would make the salsa, but that's okay. I'll take it. I'll take the spice. Spicy is better than bland. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're in Aries season and it's spring. It's the beginning of life, right? Life is coming back. And I mean, couldn't be more true metaphorically because we're getting our lives back because lots of people are getting access to COVID-19 vaccines and we're starting to be at the end of this, right? Life as we know it might go back to some semblance of normalcy. That's really exciting. In the North Node this month, we're talking about this idea of spring and Aries season. And we're also talking about spring cleaning and cutting attachments and cords. We have this amazing teacher shaman who's coming in, Mary Lucian, to do a 2-part class with us on shamanic healing and clearing old attachments. And we're also doing sort of a spring clean of our brains and our businesses and just getting really laser focused on the vision and what we're trying to create. And I feel that during this time of year so much, like this time of year and October, weirdly, maybe it's because April's the beginning of Q2 and October is the beginning of Q4. It's when I start to see, I'm so much more motivated now than I was in January. Because there's something about this sort of fog of a new year that doesn't feel like the beginning of the year to me. It still feels like I'm sort of trudging through something. And this is when I start to get excited. It's almost like I'm rounding a corner and I'm like, oh, okay. I made it up that first 3 months. So maybe I can actually, it's all downhill from here, maybe, and that's, I think probably why organically in our calendar of our business, we have 2 programs, the Profitable Content Creator Lab, which goes live in April, and then IWA, the Infinite Well Accelerator, which goes live in the end of September, early October, depending on the year, because there are these times that we feel this wave of energy and I just want to ride it. And I feel like it's contagious. We all kind of feel it. We start to get out of our, seasonal effectiveness disorder, doom and gloom. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. My depression starts to somewhat lift a little bit. And I'm like, there's a light, there's possibility, there's potential. And I'm actually motivated to do something. It's just exciting. It's an exciting time. So PCCL opens next week. I'm so excited. Profitable Content Creator Lab, where we teach you how to intuitively and magically make content that gets you paid. And so we do that by walking you through how to make things like courses and memberships and ebooks and workbooks, all the things, paid content, paid emails, but also how to use your content to sell the things that you love, the services that you offer, the physical products that you carry, all that good stuff. So PCCL is one of those, to me, it's a curriculum. I've been teaching a series of classes called Recession Proof Skills for the last couple of weeks. My last class is this week on Friday. And to me, being able to make content and make money off your content is a recession proof skill because no matter what, people want to ingest content. Look at the last year of what's happened, right? We've had this huge economic downturn for many people. A lot of really wealthy people made even more money this year. But even when everything was shut down, right? We couldn't go to restaurants or go see movies or be outside. We were still ingesting content, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, podcasting went through the roof. You're probably signing up for online courses and digital courses. You probably joined a couple of membership communities virtually. If not your local yoga studio, then maybe a copywriting platform or something like the North Node. And it's so interesting to me that people think that content is this like floofy, I don't know, light, extraneous thing that is like an extra, that if there's extra money lying around or if there's extra time lying around, people take content in. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. And this has been true since the dawn of time, or not the dawn of time, but since we could ingest content, since we could read books, since we could see plays, since we could look at art, since we could take things in, consume, right? We have. It's very rarely the first thing to go away. In fact, sometimes it is the only thing that people make and budget time and energy for. So not only is just the skill set of being able to make profitable content important if you have a business because you want to make money and you want your business to have longevity, but it's also something that no matter what is happening in the world is always going to be a valuable skill. You will always find a way to take the skills, the strategies, the frameworks, the lessons that you learn in a course like Profitable Content Creator Lab, or if you're a content creator, period, and you know how to make profitable content, you'll know how to take those skill sets and apply them outside of your business to another person's business or another person's product or service and help them. And that's always going to be an in-demand skill. So the way I think about it is, even if you don't want to make content, if you want to be a content creator for other people, if you want to be a consultant or a producer or an editor, you have to understand how this stuff works and know how to make people dollar bills out of it. So anyways, PCCL goes live next week. So exciting. It's open from April 19th to April 25th. So if you want to sign up, make sure you're on our email list because you are going to get a note about it. And we'll put a link in the show notes here so that you can get early access if you want to. But also just come to class because I've been teaching these free classes that are super valuable. I should charge money for them. Maybe I'll put them out and I'll actually put them behind a paywall because they're super valuable. But my last free class is this week, so you can sign up for it. And when you sign up for class, you actually get early access to the early bird price for PCCL. So if you want the discounted rate, very discounted rate, then go ahead and sign up. Okay. On that note, actually, we're talking to an incredible content creator today, Daje James. Ugh, I love her. What a brilliant human being, and just shining light of authenticity. And I want to say zero fucks given, but in a really, not in a scary way. In fact, one of the things that we talked about today, because you know how sometimes when people are like, I don't give a fuck, they're like, yeah, okay, please don't light my house on fire. I don't want, that's cool that you don't give a fuck, but I'm scared of you. Daje is not like that. And in fact, in this conversation, we talked about what it's like to be perceived by other people and have other people be intimidated by you. And I just really appreciated Daje's candor in sharing that experience. And it's a really good conversation. We talk about the gene keys. We talk about creating community intuitively. We talk about being projectors. We talk about all the things. We talk about love and working with people that you've dated or you've been in a relationship with and more. And I think that you're really going to love Daje's perspective. So I can't wait for you to listen to this episode and let me know what you think. Daje, welcome to the 12th House Podcast. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
How long have we known each other now on the internet? Because this is the first time we're talking IRL, I think.
Yeah, I think since the summer.
Feels like an age. Feels like it's been an eternity. Since the summer.
I feel so too. Yeah. It feels like it's been a long time. Multiple lifetimes have happened since the summertime.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I was so just taken with the presence that you have in the digital ethers. I'm really leaning in lately to this idea of the multiverse, right? I guess I'm not personally leaning into it more than anyone else, but I'm thinking about it a lot and thinking about these spaces that are not happening IRL or in the material realm. And instead of just thinking about the spiritual world, I'm also thinking about the digital ether. And how that is its own sort of place.
Yes.
And universe. And it's living beside our universe. And it's so interesting and weird and trying to think about it in that way. And in this weird murky place, you are just such a breath of fresh air, from the way that you talk to like the poetry. Your posts are like poetry, and you're just, so you seem so clear. So I wanted to ask you, like, before we even got started, like, where does that come from? Like, how are you so clear? And does it feel so clear for you?
I'm a projector with a hard 2 line.
Okay.
So that's probably some of that, like, appears to be very clear. But I promise that so much of what I share is coming from my own tussle with just the material that you're speaking my language. I was literally telling somebody earlier today who was asking about my services and how I think about the internet. And I'm just like, the internet's a portal. It is a material that we can work with. Mm-hmm. It's not the boogeyman. Even though it can feel that way sometimes. And so when I think about the internet, I just think there is a poem that I wrote actually a long time ago when I was a traveling poet who joined the circus.
Okay, we're going to have to put a pin in that.
That happened. I'd rather be a siren singing one note into the dark, asking it to break in the stars than to be silent. And that's how I see the internet. That's how I see, I think, my voice even, or like what I get to do with my voice in this lifetime.
Wow. You know, when that word silent sort of hung in the air, it made me think about how much fear there is on the internet for people to speak truth to what they believe, and how much energy can be sort of like thrown behind ideas. It's almost like a whirlwind or like a firestorm that can be created just like by a single match so quickly on the internet that I think a lot of people are afraid of. I see this a lot. I see it in myself. I see it in other people. I see it in my students, of this half fear of being seen. Because what if I'm seen, and then what if I am like that firestorm comes for me and I have no control over it, and I don't know how to like hide from it or save myself from it. And I think that that's a really big fear for a lot of people that's holding us back in a lot of ways. Do you feel into that at all?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. The fear of being canceled, the fear of being consumed by the energy of the internet is so real. Even some of my clients have been canceled in big ways that are just so, it's scary. It's real. Whoa. It's valid. It's valid.
Wow. Okay. So how do you define the word cancel? Because I think that there are going to be people who are like mad that we're even having a conversation about cancel culture, to which I say, okay, be mad. But like, I think it's an interesting conversation. So how do you define canceled?
I think of it as when a person or a group of people tries to strip away another person's opportunity to connect in wholehearted, self-sovereign ways. And it's control. I don't take any political stances against or for cancel culture or canceling at all. But when I see the impact of it on any person's world or life, I just believe that cancel culture, maybe I do take a slight political stance, that if cancel culture were done well, it would be done in the court of law. And that's where it kind of belongs, and that all other instances to hold accountability within community need to be done in a way that honors the person's humanity. And so I just think that cancel culture is kind of like high school, where you just try to tear away somebody's humanity and their chance of connecting by controlling the way that other people think about them. It's petty in a lot of ways. I can see validity in the way that some people feel about it. And it's also kind of like that firestorm of like internet energy that just consumes. And this is not like a neat answer. It's not a neat response. But the nuances are that like a person who knows that they're about to cancel someone knows that they're starting a forest fire.
Yeah.
And to me, that is like, I don't know how to feel about that. Totally.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think that there is a like clean, neat, tidy answer. You know, like it is, that's a thing with the internet and with people is that it is, we like love black and white, right? We love either or. We want clarity. We want to like understand where something sits. We want to categorize things. I'm reading this book called Black and White Thinking that is amazing. It's like breaking my brain in a really good way. Just recently came out and it was written during COVID. So it has really current references to this black or white thinking. And it talks about how humans, like we just want to categorize things in order to understand the level of safety, right? Like if I can categorize something that I see on my lawn as a sprinkler, then I know it's not going to kill me, right? If I can't categorize things, then I have no idea how safe they are or how violent they might be. And so I think that we have this tendency to want to categorize and simplify and reduce things down to the lowest common denominator. And that's like what leads to all problems because like being a human is complex and nuanced and there's not like one rote answer. There's not one right answer or one correct way to go about things. And it takes more energy that way though. It takes more energy from us, like to not apply like a templatized response or answer to every single thing that we see. And I don't know if everyone has that energy.
Because it requires you to care.
Yeah, totally. And also like even saying that, I'm like, it's so exhausting though. Like caring is so exhausting as a Pisces sun, Cancer rising, Scorpio moon. Let me just tell you, caring is exhausting.
I'm a Gemini sun, Aquarius moon, and a Libra rising. So I feel you.
You care for the collective.
I do. I love the collective, and caring can feel really exhausting. It can feel like that matchbox energy of just, what is the risk of caring?
Yeah. And
in this moment.
Totally. And it's so contradictory or maybe contraindicatory to some philosophies and also some like wellness conversation, right? Which is like sort of detachment or stoicism or equanimity. And how do you like balance those two things? How do you care for all beings and do metta meditation and also like let every single thing kind of like come through you and kind of be apathetic towards it or I don't know, neutral towards it?
Neutral. Yeah. I don't have the answers.
Me neither. I was asking you. I was hoping you would know.
Nope. This is why I have this big ass book on my desk, the Gene Keys.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the Gene Keys. So you mentioned you're a projector. That's human design. And okay. Tell me about the Gene Keys because we have the Gene Keys book at home. Someone gave it. So my partner was diagnosed with cancer a couple years ago. And when he got sick, like all these people like started giving him weird presents. People get weird when around like the idea of death. And so someone gave him the book of the Gene Keys and like gave him a free Gene Keys reading and was like, here's your life's purpose, blah, blah, blah. It kind of went in one ear out the other, I think, unfortunately for Ethan, but we have the book and neither of us understand it or know how it works. All I know is that it's like an offshoot of human design. So how did you get into it? And like, I've been seeing on your stories that you're deep, that it is like dragging you. And I want to hear more about this.
Absolutely. So I got into the Gene Keys because someone in our ecosystem, he's actually my business partner, Davey. He kind of stays up to tabs on all of our human design and connects all of our circuits and channels and all of our Gene Keys. He's like our project manager, but he's like a New Earth project manager.
Oh my gosh. Did he pull the chart of your team? Because you can do that on Genetic Matrix and like see where... Did it blow your mind?
Yeah, it was pretty revealing. And yeah, it was, Michelle. I got into the Gene Keys because he was kind of like, I think you need to read this about yourself. And I was like,
he was like, here's some gentle feedback.
Except my Gene Keys are like literally dragging me to hell. My Gene Keys are basically like, be careful not to become a tyrant.
Oh my God. Okay, I don't see that in you. I feel like you don't really need to worry about that. But I guess thanks for the warning, Gene Keys.
I mean, are you familiar with Enneagram as well?
Yes. What are you an Enneagram?
I'm a 7 with a hard 8 wing.
Oh, interesting.
So
I'm a 4 with a 5 wing.
That doesn't surprise me. That's amazing, though. I love that. I think that's what everybody thinks that I am, and when they meet me...
I was going to say, that seems like what you might be, but I also see a 7, and I just wish I was one of those high numbers. Like, you guys are fun.
There's no hierarchy.
But they're fun. No, I mean, like, everything above 5, I'm like, they sound like the people you want at a party. Like, those are the fun people. I don't know.
Well, the 7 wing 8 is the enthusiast and the challenger. And I'm really, through reading my Gene Keys, I'm starting to make sense of the 8 aspect of me, the projector in me, the like Gemini in me with the Leo and Mars is there. It's very there. Like when I'm activated in my work, I'm like a general. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I was in the North Node. I did the past life regression, and it freaked me out so badly. I never did another one because I found out that I was this like warrior princess who like was one of the founders of Voodoo. Like it was, which is like kind of like a big thing. It's like part of off the coast of Western Benin. It was like wildly it was specific.
Wow.
And intense.
Did you know about that history prior to?
No.
Whoa.
No.
Oh, that's what I love about past life regression. When it's like, hey, here's all this information that you've never Googled that you're right about. So good luck trying to figure that out.
I know. I went into this past life regression wondering why do people see me as intense? Like, I'm just here, yo. Like, I'm just here, and I am soft. I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? But then, like, when you get closer, there is an intensity that I bring to the table. Like, I know what I want, and I'm pretty insistent upon, like, showing up to my creative process. And to a lot of people, they've communicated to me that that's intimidating, and, like, you know, I want to learn about it and I want to learn from you, but I'm also scared. Like, I don't really know how to like say all of this stuff out loud because it makes me kind of sound like an asshole sometimes. And I'm like, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. You don't sound like an asshole.
And I actually like really identify with that. I get told a lot that I'm intimidating, and like that I've got this hard. Like my college friends always used to call me Pointy Michelle because I was like just like pointy and hard and like all edges, you know, and so tough. But I'm really soft and cry all the time, you know, and if you're like in my inner circle, I'm like, I love you so much. Never leave me. You're the best. Like, you know, baby. But then to other people, a little sometimes intimidating. But I think for you, I feel like it's integrity that's really intimidating to people. And it can feel like, it's just, we see such a lack of integrity these days and in the world. So when someone has that and it's like in their DNA, I think that can feel intense, right? Cause it's like that crystal clarity going back to kind of like when we first met on the internet, that like people just don't, I don't know. They don't know how to respond to it.
Yeah. I think it's an interest. I like that observation the best is better than you're really intense.
Right. Also, like, how are you supposed to respond? How are you supposed to respond? Like, how are you supposed to respond to that? And second, why is intensity bad? Like,
it's not,
you know,
it's not. I think of it as like, I've just been on this journey of trying to fall in love with my aura, just like love myself. Because when I read my gene keys, I'm really tempted to feel ashamed of how I come across to people over time. Is like, they start to become disenchanted. This is not with everybody, but for the people who haven't recognized my projector aura, I guess you could say, they become disenchanted with the poetic side of me. And they start to see this person who takes up a lot of space energetically, even though, like, it's just like the intensity thing. And I'm like, how do I fall in love with my purity? How do I fall in love with this, like, aura streaming from my body in a way that is just intense and pure and here for the intention? And my gene keys read it back to me in a way that was just like, this is how you can transmute this powerful energy that you were born with. And there's nothing you can do about, you know, having it. And it's the city. It's like the SIDDHI aspect of it that is like your transformed self. And then it also talks about the shadow aspect. So my primary gene key is the 45th gene key, which is the gate of gathering together in human design. And it's all about cosmic communion. But the shadow of the 45th is dominance. So I may not be like a Donald Trump, for example. Right. You can blank out that name. You can beep. Beep. I might not be like a beep. But because I kind of know what I want really quickly, I make quick decisions. It can people will tend to defer to me. Like, even in our ecosystem, we're navigating this right now. It's like, I'm calling you in to, like, take up space. I want to see us transform into a hierarchy where I'm not the only one making all of the decisions. Like, you have magic and medicine to bring to the table that is equally as potent and necessary for this time as mine is. So how can we transform together, right? And if I'm not active about that, how I see it playing out practically in my team structure is dominance. Or dominating a conversation, which I could probably stop talking now.
No, this is the reason you're here. They hear enough of me. Trust me. I get the feedback. They're like, we got it. We like to hear when the guests talk. So we know Michelle. So you're doing great. But it is interesting to be on a team and to get out of paternalism of that hierarchy of one person knowing the right thing, especially if you are the innovator or the visionary, like if you kind of hold that identity on your team. And it can be very, very challenging to train people, because that's all that we're doing is just like teaching people how to communicate and interact by modeling, train them to like not look for one right answer. And also that the one right answer doesn't come from one right person. It is a group effort. And also, like, I don't know, I'll speak from the I also struggle. So the person who's been running this company the longest, who's been at my company the longest, who, you know, has had a lot of experience doing this, that sometimes I do know better just because I've had more experience doing something. So how do you sort of like walk the line between those two things? And it's really hard. I find it to be really hard. Like,
it is.
That takes the most energy for me. And that I didn't want to hire people for a long time because I was so scared to be a manager of others, and not even a manager, but just like co-creative with other people, because I totally feel that same shadow of like dominance and intimidation and it not being on purpose. And that I think is like the most painful part of like, but I thought I was being good, but I thought I was being open, but I thought I was making this place feel comfortable for everyone. And then to hear that people are still scared of you or still intimidated, even though you try so hard, it's so like demoralizing.
Yeah, yes, same. I hear you. I am like sitting here like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely. It's scary because you want to show up in love, and you're doing this because because your love and your heart is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least that's why I'm doing it. Right. I don't know about you, Michelle.
Trust me, if this wasn't about love, I would have quit a really long time ago. I could do a lot of things and make it a lot easier and probably make a lot more money. So yes, it's about love. And also just like some divine alignment of like, this is the only path. This is the only right way. Like for you right now, this is the only possibility. There is no other, like, this is it.
Yeah.
So it's about love, and you want to come from love, but love is also truth. You know, love and truth are the same. Yeah. And sometimes the truth is like not cuddly and cute, you know, and that can be it's so much to like, again, humans are a lot. There are a lot of things. And and it can be really intimidating if you want to be that leader in love. And that's also part of your purpose, right? Is to like, we're not here to do this by ourselves. That's actually something I learned in a past life regression. I had this past life experience where I like, you know, did everything by myself, and I was good and I was happy, and I was on my deathbed, and I was like, but I didn't need to do it all alone. Like I could have done it with other people. And that's my lesson in this life is like, just because you can do it fast by yourself doesn't mean it's going to be worthwhile. Like sometimes you got to go a little slower and like loop more people in and like let them come with you.
That's quite literally, that's been the lesson of this season for me of like, okay, going slower and making a lot less money, like stepping into that process of going slower, being a part of community, integrating myself into a community that truly like feels called to be here. And I feel called to be in community with them. I feel like drawn, magnetized to these people at this time. That means something more than me being able to do excellent work on my own. And it's like, it literally is the demolishing of hierarchy, which is what the 45th Gene Key is here to do. It's here to, in their own way, disintegrate hierarchy into heterarchy through synarchy. Lots of archy.
I know. I was like, I'm gonna have to Google that one.
It's hilarious, but it's also like so. When I read it, I was like, "Fuck yes!" I was like early in the morning, and I was in my bed, and I was reading, and I was like, "Fuck yes, this is my love language right here, right here, bitch! Like, bitch, you're right."
It's so
like the
cool.
whole book is highlighted.
And it's also like this is an audio form piece of content, but this giant book, it's like probably 4 inches tall, and it's like 8 by 11. It's not like a pamphlet. It's like 3 Bibles. Like it is huge.
It's 3 human design books stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So do you find that the Gene Keys, this might be incorrect, but what I know of the Gene Keys is that the guy who wrote them or like sort of channeled them was a poet and who studied under Ra, the guy who created human design. And he sort of got even more depth and detail into sort of like the elements of human design, but sort of unpack them in different ways. So you wouldn't like hold up your human design, body graph and be able to really like read the Gene Keys to understand it. You have to get like another chart done, but they do like kind of go together. Is that right? Or am I like totally bastardizing that?
Yeah, I think that's right. But don't quote me because I'm not an expert.
Clearly, nor am I.
But yeah, from what I understand, that is correct, because I feel like the Gene Keys actually helped me understand my human design a little bit better and have a lot more grace for my design and spaciousness for being a projector. Because
do you not like being a projector?
When I found out, I was like, you mean I get to preserve my energy from all of these people out here? I almost said something else. So that part of it, I really do love, like, that we get to take naps and then manifest a whole bunch of shit from that. Or I love being able to, like, go to sleep and, like, wake up with an entire plan. And, like, that's really fun for me. What I don't like is repeating myself to the people who I do need to understand. I'm like, you haven't recognized me, but, like, I do need you to understand what it is that's coming out of my mouth. So
how do you recognize me now?
I'm just gonna be an asshole to you, but I gotta speak my truth.
Ooh, oh, this feels very, as a fellow projector, I am having like shame flashbacks, you know, where you're just like, oh my God, I remember, every time I did something like, do something like that. Just like, oh man. Whew, tough stuff.
It's a journey, you know, of self-love. And I'm sorry if that brought back flashbacks for you. I just discovered my human design a year ago.
Really?
And yeah, it was revolutionary. It changed my whole life and my business. Like, didn't have another single sales call ever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my business tripled.
Never again.
Ever.
Never pitch yourself. Never do a cold email.
Never.
Like, all the things that are actually making me nauseated right now as we speak. Like, you don't have to do them in that way. It doesn't mean that you can't do a sales call. All the people listening out there, like, you can.
Yeah,
it's just like, it's a different feeling. It's not like you're cold calling someone and like convincing them to love you. It's just like, it's not like that. It's just different. It's a different vibe.
It's just a different vibe. Like, totally different vibe. And yeah, it's just been really amazing. And it's a journey I think it's a journey, especially if you're trying to build a company, to be a projector. So Davey, thankfully, who's on my team in our ecosystem, and he's also my business partner, he's a manifesting generator. But Michael, who is my other business partner, is also a projector. So we have an ecosystem stacked with projectors. It's equally split between manifesting generators in particular and projectors. So
that's a good team, though. That's really good. MGs work really well with projectors, I think. Like, maybe I'm just super biased because my husband is an MG, and then Wallace on our team, who's like, I would say my creative partner, is an MG as well. And like, man, I need their energy. Really bad. And they also really need me to be like, here's your two choices. You can pick between this or this. Which one do you want?
Yes and no question.
Exactly. Or like, all right, here's an idea. I want you to start here. Now you get to go like run with it and be creative. But like, here's the big brilliant idea, and here's like where we want it to go. And now like do your magic on it. How did you meet your two partners? She blushed through the microphone.
Oh my God. So Michael and I met on Hinge.
I have many friends who listen to this podcast who I met on Hinge, who I dated. So I don't think there's anything embarrassing about that.
That's great. And we met on Hinge, and we had really beautiful connection, and also have similar ideas of building ecosystems and building, like, he wants to found a town, a sovereign town.
Cool.
That's laid on top of another town that has like a totally different set of principles and values and moves different. I just think it's so cool and so in alignment because, and then Davey and I met through another friend of ours at a fire, but we had been in community, been in the same, you know how sometimes like the town gets small and all the bougie weirdos hang out at the same bar. And that's kind of how I've known him for years, because we hung out in all the same places and had a similar network. But over this last year, we've like really connected in kind of a quantum sense almost, and have fallen in love with the work of building together. So
that's so cool. And so do you all work on Brave School together? Because it seems like you're really the face of Brave School. I don't feel like I hear a lot from the two of them.
We do. Yeah. They're way more behind the scenes than they will be. Hopes and dreams.
They're like listening to this podcast like, oh shit.
No, we've already had the conversation. It's cool. It's cool. Seasonality. Yes. And yeah, so they do. Michael also is founding 2 other businesses at the moment.
MG.
So he's projector.
What? How?
Because Michael's like a freaking wizard. He is an actual wizard.
Wow.
It's amazing. And his Jewish ancestors always come to him and they're like, this is what you've got to do. These are like the ancestors who survived Auschwitz and like built grocery stores from scratch in the north. And just like, he's like, they're just like, this is what you got to do. This is how you build a sovereign town. And he's like, bet. Okay. Let's do this. Wow. Let's do this. Like, it's amazing. So he has his background is in tech. He always finds his way to be like the founder's right-hand man. Projector energy.
Yep.
On blast.
Yep.
So yeah, he's amazing. So I could talk about his work all day.
So he's well positioned to do that. I mean, I feel like working in tech was like the best education I could ever get in how to run a business, and also how to absolutely not ever fucking run a business. Like the both and of it all, and like on hyperdrive, like super accelerated. So
yeah, especially in the startup world, like.
Yeah, it's a different company every 6 months. That's what they say. Whether you're working at a company and then when you become a CEO, they're like, cool, you're the CEO of this company. It's going to be different in 6 months. It's like a completely different company. It's like you started a different organization and you have to be prepared for that. And like, that also can be really, it's like a breakneck speed to grow at, for better or worse. Yeah. And so it can be very jarring. You know, growing pains and growing pains are really real. And it seems like you have this philosophy at Brave School. And I know it's something that we talk about at Holisticism too. And it's like, we don't just want growth for the sake of growth. Like that's such a silly metric or such a silly KPI to study. And that's not like we want to build for longevity. Like in every sense of the word, of longevity of the self, right? Like I want to be around for a long time. I don't want to burn out. Longevity for our people and like longevity for this planet. Like we want our work to be generative and regenerative. So how do you do that at Brave School?
I have a framework that I've been working with for a while, and it's a proprietary framework of our company, Founding Space, which is the umbrella for Brave School, called Fertile Frameworks. So the idea is that transformation or state change is not linear. And if we want to build sustainably, we have to lean into a more cyclical model that models the way that nature unfolds from itself. So that's like actually what we were talking about earlier, that's synarchy. So all of our frameworks are like just soaked in this idea that if it doesn't circle back around and continue to expand and grow in a circular or a cyclical format, then it's going to fizzle out. So preparing for cyclical transformation is being willing to lean into the process and say we're not through. And there really isn't an end to growth. There isn't an end to expansion. And you're right, expansion for expansion's sake is empty. It's void. So why are we expanding? What does strategy look like to this framework? Well, strategy is not, something that came to me from my ancestors earlier was that strategy is revealed. It's not created.
Mm-hmm.
So strategy is about like getting low to the ground and listening to what the context is and responding to the context based off of what you hear. So this cyclical framework is like dialing in. It comes from working in a coffee shop for a really long time, while also like working at a finance company and being their designer and also doing like all of these other things. I was a wild ass projector in these streets. I don't know what I was doing, but I was tired. But I was doing it in the morning. But also like dialing it in. Like when you get into the coffee shop in the morning, the first thing you do before you take the chairs down, before you do anything, is you dial in those beans. I cannot stand a cup of coffee from coffee shop. I am a snob. I'm a coffee snob. I'm not going to lie about it. Where they don't dial in their espresso. Like, do not give me that.
What is like, even dialing it? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't do this. When I make coffee, and I'm off the sauce for right now, but I do, like, I fucking love the freeze-dried coffee. Organic. You're judging me so hard, but it's okay.
I'm not.
I'm
organic
freeze-dried coffee, the super fancy stuff. Dude, it's good. I'm going to send you some. It's good. You're going to change your mind.
I believe you. Okay. I'm ready to be changed. But it's this like, so when dialing an espresso, basically you're taking into account like, okay, so how much, think about a coffee grinder and all the spro that's inside that coffee grinder. The air pressure, the moisture inside of that container, all of those things affect the way that the beans taste to the tongue.
Yeah.
And so every morning when you come in, you have to adjust the grind. So how big the grind is,
right.
Adjusting how much goes into the puck of your espresso puck, and adjusting the weight, adjusting the pull time on the water, like to create consistency with the bean, because the bean is always changing states. It is not static. And so the older it gets, the more aerated it becomes, right? Or like when espresso, how am I talking about coffee right now?
I love it. I'm riveted. Tell me more. I had no idea. Like, life is so complex. I just thought that you just grind it up. And I'm like, no, you're right. It is changing state. We're all changing states. Like, yes. It's true. We're constantly changing state. Like, we are in a process of change. We're never arriving. And so we need to always be dialing it in. Like, that should be the thing, right?
Yes.
Always be dialing it in.
Always be dialing it in. Get your ass to the ground and listen to your people. We have in Brave School, one of the foundation of brand strategy, which is how Brave School started as a 6-week brand strategy, like intensive. And then I was like, we need more time we need a lot more time than 6 weeks to do this work. And so now it's like a 12-month container instead of, it went to 3 months and now it's 12. And I send people back, my one-to-one clients. If y'all are listening, if you haven't done market research, if you haven't spent time with your community, if you haven't had conversations, you're going to either use this time on the call today to do your conversations with your community that we schedule.
You're like, you're doing your homework. I don't care when you're fucking doing it, but you're doing your homework. There's no option not to.
There's nothing I can do. I can't help if you're not listening, right? I can't help you do strategy because I'm not here to tell you what to do. That's the magic of strategy to me, is like, everybody is innately strategic. Everybody has a story that's unfolding out of them all the time. And it is not a story that's linear. It is a story that is cyclical, it's bending and folding with the seasons. We are not just these beings that wake up one day out of the womb and we live these linear lives. And so why would we expect business to be the same way? A user journey is not a straightforward process. It has a lot of loops. It contains a lot of like backwards and forwards. It's dance.
Yeah.
So I could just continue to talk.
I love this. No, I love it. I'm here for it. I think that this is like, people need to talk about this more because they don't. Like, there's this weird myth in the world that I see it all the time, and it like used to really, really, really make me angry. It was like kind of like how manifestation talk used to make me just like absolutely livid because I was like, this is bullshit. You know, like you're telling people lies. That's another conversation for another day. I'm not prepared to have it right now, but I see so much intuitive business conversation out there. And when we bring in mysticism and magic into our work, which I think we always are, whether we realize it or not, but a lot of people want to be like, oh, just like throw your hands up and like just trust and magic, you know, magic will just happen. I'm like, have you ever fucking done magic before? It takes a lot of work.
Right.
Like it takes
a lot of intention.
Yes. And the right ingredients and the right materials.
Yes.
And the right timing and the right energy around you. And by the way, like if you're trying to fucking multitask and do magic, guess what? You are going to end up with a fucked up spell and something that you did not want to happen. And even when you do a spell perfectly, there are still some things that you overlook in the way that you craft your spell where you're like, well, I didn't think about that loophole. So suck. Okay. Great. I accidentally made something that I wasn't intending. And it isn't like you just throw your hands in the air and you're like, cool, let's hope this thing happens. It's not that. And I get that people want business to be really easy. And the thing is like, life is simple. Life is simple. Magic is simple. Intuitive business is simple. Strategy is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, that part.
And like, I think that we often look for hacks and like tricks and, you know, quick fixes in lieu of strategy because, and the thing is like those hacks and tricks might work for a season. They might work for a time, but they're a Band-Aid. They don't have longevity. To your point, that strategy does. And you can only really figure out strategy when you get more information. And we always say that intuition is information.
Yes.
But so is information. And information is like, you know, talking to your clients, doing user testing, getting feedback, all the things that you just mentioned that you make people do for homework. Yeah.
Honestly, I think all of that is intuitive. It's intuitive. It's listening. It's bringing your spidey senses to the table in really like flamboyant fashions is like really cool and perks. Like I wrote this in an article or something. I think I just put it in a blog post. I don't know. But like being an intuitive like business owner or like bringing intuition into your business can look like spidey senses turning on and off and like downloading all your programs from your inner goddess. And that's a perk.
Totally. I'm nodding and smiling. I'm like, yes, and.
Perk. And it's not the whole story. Like you can't just do that and then forget to like hook up your Zapier connection.
Right. Oh my God. Can you imagine if you're like, no, I'm just going to manifest that these emails are going to float into my inbox. It's like, fine. It's fine.
No.
It's fine. Quantum, you know?
No. No, I don't know. I know about these emails. I know about these dishes about to get done. That's how we think about it in our ecosystem. It's like, what's doing the Dharma and doing the dishes? And the secret is that doing the dishes is doing the Dharma.
Amen.
So
Amen. That's true.
We got to send these emails. We got to hook up these Zapier connections. So
yeah. And like, I think we're talking about like frameworks, right? And within frameworks, this goes back to the black and white or the either or thinking, right? Within frameworks, it doesn't have to be like, oh, if we're going to use emails, we have to use a funnel and the funnel needs to look like this and it has to be the swipe copy like that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Or you know what? We're just not going to plan any emails. It's just going to be like, let's follow our intuition. And just when you want to send an email, you send an email. It's like, okay, great. Those are two ends of the spectrum, but we know that we don't live in a binary. My guys, we don't live in a binary. We know that there is so much more in between that. And that's where your intuition and your creativity and all the juicy goodness gets to really like flow out of you. And
I agree.
You know, in North Node this month, we're talking about the unconscious and how unconscious, subconscious intuition needs a framework in order to run really free and go really deep because, or else it's not safe to do so because there are no bounds. And it's kind of like the Roomba when you were talking about cyclical growth, right? The Roomba vacuum has to come back home and recharge and have a like docking space. Stay with me on this.
No, I'm with you. I love this. This is my shit.
And I think that like our intuition needs, our unconscious, our subconscious needs that docking space, right? Like, okay, safe. It's kind of like when I get in bed at night with my partner, I'm just like, safe.
Airlocking.
Yeah. Yeah. And we mistake that like safety or that cycle or that framework for something that's fencing us in, when in reality it's like the skeleton that's holding us up and like that we need in order to move forward, I think.
I agree. I think of frameworks like channels. They're channels that the work flows through. Like it's alchemy, spell work. It's abracadabra is beautiful. I love that word. But it also abracad do the work.
Oh man, I didn't see that coming. Abracad do the work. Yes, that's going to be a meme. Somebody tweet that. That's good.
Create space for change to happen. Create intentional space for change to happen. And yes, put those into like the liminal, all of it is a part of it. Like the liminal, I call it the tension. And because I feel like our cells are held together in tension. It's not a bad, I don't see that word as bad. Yeah. Like something bad is happening. I see it as,
like water tension.
Yes. What we thought was static is actually not. It's in motion. Energy is moving. And so how do we move this energy in an intentional way? Through a channel. It's going somewhere with intention.
No, I love what you said about the frameworks being the channel. I'm like kind of obsessed with mental models, and partially because I kind of sometimes feel like I don't understand people and like how people think. Like I'm sure everyone feels this way, but like a little bit like an alien sometimes where you're like, why are people that way? I'm people. Like, why are we like this, you know? And mental models are like endlessly fascinating because they just show us a framework for how people tend to think and tend to act and tend to be. And when you understand mental models and frameworks, your life gets so much easier because you don't have to like prove things. It's like, it's like a secret pathway of like a secret shortcut through the forest or like through the jungle where you like get to your destination so much more quickly and like, without having to machete your way through it.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. He said it.
My God. I feel like my brain broke open in a really good way. Like I want to talk to projectors all the time. I love it. I want to talk to you all the time. It's not projectors. I just want to talk to you and hang out with you.
So kind. That's super kind. This is such a great conversation. I love all the things that we talked about today. It was so good.
We went there. We went all over the place. We went from gene keys to Roombas, you know, to abracad do the work.
Yes. Important. That's magic. You're literally, as it is in heaven, so it is below, right? You're bringing Brave School, which is, we've been talking about it. It's an institute of dreaming. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is like, you are bringing your dreams down into reality, and that abracad do the fucking work. Like, it's bring it on down to the ground.
Yep. And I open the Akashic Records a ton, and I'm sure you do too. And something that I love love them. I love many things about the Akashic Records. Number one, I love their sass. I just love when someone just like tells me straight and is like, stop fucking asking that question. Like, we already told you the answer. That's my record.
My guides are
every time. They're like, we already answered this, so I don't know why you're asking it again. It's great. I love that tough love. But I also, I love like being reminded consistently that anything that we're tapping into shows us the most likely outcome based on the trajectory that we're on. And we have free will to choose our destiny. We have free will to say, you know what? I don't like this trajectory anymore. Like, deuces, I'm out. And on the flip side of that, just because you see something or you like have a vision that you can create something in the world or that something is coming to you doesn't mean you can just like be a blob on the couch and like hope that it will just appear in front of your eyes. Like, it takes you staying on that trajectory, staying on that path, like moving towards it to make it happen to you. And Abra could do the fucking work.
Yeah. My ancestors continue to show me, and this one is indigenous to American soil. And she's the one who comes up a lot in like these readings that people do of me. She's like, yep, I'm here, bitch. What do you need? Like, that's her energy. That's her energy. She's like, put your hands in the fucking soil. Your hands in the soil are the portal to the new world. Like, put your hands in the soil, put your hands in the soil, put your hands in the soil. Learn from the soil. And it just, for me in my mind and with my own personal history, that with my grandparents and everybody in my family being a gardener, except for me, just trying to keep my houseplants alive. My soil right now is the internet. Like, put my hands in the soil, transform my relationship with this material. It's just technology. Plants are just technology.
The land is like arable, you know, it's like very fertile. And it also can, just like soil, can become deficient in minerals and in nutrition if you don't take care of it, if you don't like tend to it. I feel like that's totally what's happening with the internet right now. Like, we're having the Saturn return of the internet and shit's fucking going down. Like, we gotta like kind of take back our power in this thing. And I'm totally guilty of being like, I hate Instagram. I don't want to be on Instagram, but I feel like there's so many people that find me there and that rely on me or whatever, like look forward to me being there, that I feel like I have some responsibility to be there and it's important to be there, but I don't like it. I'm like, oh, why am I giving away my power in that way? Like, what is up with that?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you don't like Instagram.
I have had to shift my relationship to it. I think that's what it is. It's like, I just feel really neutral sometimes, not all the time, about Instagram. Like, it's just it's a portal to me. And I'm just there for a very specific reason. And I've even had people be like, do you have a personal Instagram? I'm like, no, I don't. This is my personal, I'm in the business of helping people bring their dreams to life in really practical ways. I'm here to do this work on the internet. And I don't owe anybody like photos of me and my boo things. Like, but when I do share, it's fine. Like, I don't know. But my relationship with Instagram is just, I'm here to do the work and I'm here to connect with people in authentic ways. And it's the most authentic that I can for this time and this material and what we've got going on here in the internet. And then the rest of it's just like, okay, cool. Peace, deuces. I don't know how to say that well.
No, I think that how you're articulating it is exactly it. It's like, it is what we've kind of like the umbrella of this conversation, right? Is like, there's complexity and nuance and it's all the things at once. It can be like a loving and a hating and a neutral and a like activating all at the same time. And like, how do we do that? And also like change our minds about it. For a long time, I wanted to just be like my most authentic self on Instagram. And I think you know, there was a part of me that was like, I'm not curating. I'm not like just showing the best parts of my life. I'm showing also when I'm having bad days and my toe hair, you know, like I'm showing me in all like my messy glory and whatever. And I was like, but I'm still curating this because it's not like Truman Show 24/7, you know, all the time, like, you know, talking to my accountant, like after I haven't showered and I've been like working on my computer all day. Like that's not on the internet. So now I'm kind of thinking about it in a different, like changing my mind a little bit. Like I want to be authentic, but there are also so many characters and archetypes that I play. And like I can be an authentic version of me that is a kind of a character or role in this other hologram world, right? And so what does that look like? Is that fun? Does that maybe like preserve some more of my authenticity in this real world too? Like I'm wondering these things and I don't have an answer. I'm just like kind of grappling with them myself.
I hear you. I'm same. Like, cause I used to run around and like when I was a touring musician post COVID. I was that too. I don't know.
Pre-COVID, but also post-COVID. If we were talking about in the future.
Still a musician. Still a musician. Still out here writing songs. I don't know if I'll ever tour again, but who knows? I was a nobody. Whatever. Anyway, when I was in the scene, the music scene, there's like when you're in the music scene, there's like, you know, all the cats who are like smoking the cigarettes at the punk bar.
Cool kids.
And you're like, yeah, the cool kids, like, you know, like the leather jackets and the Doc Martens.
Yeah. Cool kids.
And everybody's got the vibe.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought, you know, I was kind of a part of that world. Like I just sort of like walked along the fringes, but there was like this energy of like, yeah, show yourself in the, like with a picture, a selfie in the punk bathroom with all the stickers and the writing on the wall and the no mirror over the toilet and there's no toilet paper and show yourself with your homies.
Oh my God, you're taking me back. You're taking me back and I don't want to be there anymore.
Oh my God. I feel like I keep taking you back to all these places. You're like, no.
I'm 32 now. I can't do that stuff.
Surprisingly, these are 30-year-olds. So anyway, I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I don't need to, there are people who like think I'm a little fake and I'm like, well, you gonna get what's in stock today because you're going to get what's in stock because I don't have time to be curating my whole life for you to show you all of my insecurities and fears and failures and all of that. Like I will show it when I feel like it's appropriate and I want to share and it feels purposeful and it feels intentional. But like most of that, my inner circle gets. My inner circle has earned that from me. Strangers on the internet have not earned that from me.
No. And like hard no. No, period. No is a complete sentence. And
yes.
Here's the thing, like we kind of talked about the firestorm of the internet at the beginning of this, of like, it doesn't really matter what you do, right? Like we've seen, I feel like COVID's been a really good example of like, oh, when influencers or people who live their life on the internet where a lot of people are watching, if they ignore that COVID's happening or they don't talk about how difficult COVID is, or they're like living their life, creating content, entertaining us, getting us through this pandemic, because a lot of us have been spending a lot of time living vicariously through other people on the internet. If they don't acknowledge the hard stuff that's going on in their lives, they get called fake. And then when they do, and they're like, you know what, this is going on in my life and it's difficult. It's like, what, are we supposed to feel bad for you? What? Like, this isn't why I come here. I don't come to your page for XYZ thing.
All of a sudden you're an object.
Exactly. It's like,
no.
Wait, but you wanted me to be more authentic because you said that you wanted, but you don't also, but wait, hold on. You only want to be inspired by me, so I can only share what's inspired. So, but what? And, and there's also so many more layers of that, of like, I feel like there's a lot of internalized misogyny that happens on the internet where we are like ripping down other women because like they have things that we want and because we're mad about it or something else, or there's something else there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a lot. There's just so much stuff. There's the classism, like,
Yeah.
that exists, the racism, the sexism, the cis-sexism, like, you know, all of it. Yeah, all of it.
Mm-hmm. All of it. It's there. It's there because people are there and we're in a portal.
Right.
I mean, it's a freaking portal that, like, for some reason is magnifying people shit.
Mm-hmm.
As much as it's magnifying people goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's pushing those extremes. I feel like that's been really clear with some of the media that's come out lately around like what these algorithms sort of do. And they push us to the edges, right? They push us to the fringe. And we've seen that with QAnon in the wellness space and how many wellness, quote unquote wellness and well-being influencers and people have adopted that kind of language in order to get more followers, which is probably like the grossest thing. I think it's like, it's just, it's not, who knows if you really believe in it or not, but it's from many of the media that I've seen, much of the media I've seen, I should say, these people are admitting like, well, my page has never been more popular. So I'm just going to keep talking about this stuff because this is what goes viral. And that's so wild, you know?
Wild. It's gross.
But
it's hard to look at.
But that's also, I think, kind of, we see that with cancel culture too. Mm-hmm. Like if you cancel someone, you get a lot of play, you get a lot of press, you get a lot of attention and eyes on you. And if we live in an attention economy, then that is a form of currency. And that's like interesting to start thinking about.
I've noticed that. I just feel really, for some reason right now, I just feel really thankful to have narrowly escaped the wellness industry.
Do you think okay, that's a good question. Do you consider yourself to like be in the wellness industry?
No, but I've had a lot of clients who have been, who are and have been.
And who are leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of them have been major players. And I'm like, and they may not be clients anymore or whatever. Time has elapsed. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at it now. I'm like, whew, wow. I'm so glad that my projector aura acknowledged. I'm so glad it kicked in when I was like, oh, I'm needing to cut down my work time hours.
Yeah, something.
I'm like, wow. Wow. It's real out there. And I don't, how do y'all are you in the wellness?
That's a good question.
How do y'all do it?
Yeah.
How do y'all do it?
I don't know. I don't know how people who are like deeply immersed in the wellness world do it. I don't know if I'd call myself a wellness person these days. I think I started using the word well-being instead of wellness like 2 years ago, just because wellness felt like bikini body guides and matcha lattes and adaptogens and cool girls club and skinny white ladies, you know, and affluence. And I kind of just, first off, found that to be really fucking boring. Like if I had to listen to another wellness podcast, I was going to poke my own eyes out because it's like the same people saying the same shit. And maybe that's how people that feel listening to this. I sure hope not. But I just like, this is so boring. I can't listen to this anymore. Like, I don't care how many chia seeds you put in your smoothie. Like, I don't care about how amazing your poops are. Like, this isn't interesting to me. Like, what about, like, where's the flavor? You know, like, where's the, like, what matters to you? There's gotta be more that matters to you than this.
Yeah.
You know, like, not to make anyone feel small, but I just couldn't, that didn't feel aligned anymore. So well-being is like kind of what I talk about and what we talk about holisticism and more spirituality, I would say, but also well-being through business. And like, how can we create a world that is more that is more healed or promotes healing through the work that we do and living on purpose and especially like teaching people who are healers in the work that they do, not just energy healers, but you're a healer in the work that you do to reach more people without burning themselves out. Again, have longevity in their work so that they can help over their lifetime more people do what they're here to do. So long story short, I have no idea if I'm in the wellness industry or not. Maybe anyone listening can text me and tell me, am I in wellness? I'm not quite sure.
Questions that need answers. Maybe. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. To be honest, it scares me. That is definitely a part of the internet I'm just like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of high school a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if that's my crew. Mm. I don't know if I have a crew. Yeah. I just want to like, I don't know if it's not about love, if it's not about love, if it's not about like growing the earth into like beauty. I don't know, like real, like just that human, I don't know. I don't really know how to put words to it. It's hard for me to like want to be a part of it. So like with the Instagram thing, it's like, yeah, I don't feel like I owe anybody, entertaining content.
Unboxing videos. Right.
I mean, I actually love unboxing videos.
I take it back. Okay. We owe them unboxing videos.
But yeah, I don't even feel like I owe anybody like my sense of humor. I don't owe them any of that. Like, and in that I can still be my true and authentic self. My humor style is under the breath. I say a lot of things under my breath. And my friends are like, what did you say? It's like, it wasn't for you, it was for me. So, but yeah, I don't know. The internet, whatever. It's a portal.
It is.
What do we do with it?
It is. And I think that like you so perfectly stated, things are just changing state. They're just changing state. And we have to the internet is like this little cloud, it is a web that's like constantly,
sweet baby cloud.
Yeah, it's just like changing and evolving. And it's like, whoa. I mean, like, I feel like internet is like the fifth element, it's like earth, wind, fire, water, internet.
Internet. Yes.
So like, it's changing its state all the time. And we just need to like, always be dialing it in. What is the temperature right now? What does this need? Where can I add, or where do I need to like subtract or take away from where, like, how can I cull this? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Be intentional.
Yeah.
That's curation.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it. Like, curate your feed. I'm not mad at a curated feed. Okay.
The branding expert says curate the feed.
I'm not mad at it. Just, be real about it,
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, just acknowledge that that's what you're like. It's okay to not be like 100% messy, and it's okay to like want to have a curated version of yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But don't try to pass it off as like, this is what I'm like when I am after 8 p.m. and I have my PJs on.
I just always have a professional photographer and a ring light. Like, it's just my authentic vibe.
I'm always drinking chia seed smoothies all the time.
My bowel movements are immaculate. They are perfect.
That part. Okay. Everybody knows. Like, stop trying to pretend. So like, if you're like, at least if you're just like, if you are honest about like being a human, we don't need much more than that. Like, as a society, like, I don't need to, I hate it, kind of hate it when people walk up to me and they're like telling me their whole, everything that happened yesterday. I'm like, it's not even the whole life story. It's just like all the details of what happened yesterday when I say, how are you? I didn't ask you.
Like, I'm sorry.
I didn't ask you.
Did you think this was an invitation for something else?
Did you think this was an invitation for therapy? Because that's not what this is. I don't care about your toenails.
I just want my coffee, ma'am. Like, this is all I want.
Like, you can be like, yeah, I'm not having the greatest day without being like, Yeah. And the ants behind my house, we had to terminate them. And I lost my keys, and it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I care about it, but I don't at the same time. I care about you. I don't care about all the details of your life if I don't know you. Those are my boundaries.
Yeah. And like, that's fine. There's probably someone out there who's like, oh, I would love nothing more than to hear about the ants. Like, tell me more about that. We're not those people. We are certainly not.
Fly that flag.
Like,
fly that flag.
You do you, babe, but that ain't for me. I mean, I can barely reply to a text message. So like, I get overwhelmed when my friends are like, hi. And I'm like, I need a day. I'm so sorry. I'm just not like, my friends know that about me now, because I literally have 40, I talk about this on the podcast, but I have like 40 messages in my inbox on my text right now. I have 1,100 emails in my inbox that are all like wanting, you know, that they're like emails that I should reply to. And I need my space, you know, I need like my own boundaries and I need to reply when I can be present and reply to them. Like,
exactly.
Sometimes it sucks, but also that's the truth of where I'm at right now in my life. Hopefully it'll change eventually.
Can relate to that.
That's another thing the internet makes really difficult. I would say like boundaries like that, when you are like, I know that I have an email in my inbox from you, and you're looking at my stories and you're watching me like read a book, and I'm certainly not replying back to that email right now. And it's like, ooh, this is interesting prioritization or choice making to like have people see inside of your priorities.
Yeah. Well, come on in and look, because that's how I feel about it. Okay, sometimes I do feel awkward to open up a DM, and so I try not to open DMs when I don't have a space to.
Same.
But like, but if they saw the little scene at the bottom and it's taken me 24 hours to get back to them, I'm going to get back to them in earnest. Like if it's something that someone that I care about, or like I care about everybody.
The Aquarius cares about everybody. Aquarius, is it your Aquarius moon or your Aquarius rising?
Aquarius moon.
Yeah, there you go.
And I want to be fair, which is the Libra rising. Also, I'm a Gemini, so
so take that as you will.
Exactly. So know that I care about you, even if I left you on red. I'm gonna get back to you within 3 to 5. I used to have that on my contact form. I'm gonna get back to you within 3 to 5 business days.
When people have an responder that says that, I'm not like upset. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need to know. Like, I didn't ask. It's fine. Get back to my email when you get back to it. But I know that not everyone has the same laissez-faire attitude to email correspondence that I do. So I get it. But it just feels like, why do we need to justify like how we choose to make our time and to prioritize our life and to make choices? Like, again, I didn't consent to you emailing me. So why am I like, or even when someone texts me, like, I didn't consent to this conversation. I don't know. I don't like owe you a reply necessarily. Like, exactly. I don't know. Even if we're friends, even if you're my family, like, I think it's okay to have boundaries. You don't need to be like resentful, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. Just to be like, just a gentle layer. A gentle jacket, as Miriam Hasna calls it, a light jacket of energetic boundary. I love her so much. I'm in her program too. I love all of y'all. I love you all. And it's just, she calls it a light jacket. It doesn't need to be like a fence with barbed wire, but just be like, you know, I'm going to stay in my own experience and continue. And when I'm ready, I will respond to you. Right? And it's like, okay, sometimes like some things need more urgent response, but I only give that response when I've cultivated inner safety. And that might be a whole other conversation, but like cultivating inner safety on the internet is a big freaking deal.
And it also, yeah, like we need to have another conversation on this because I've already taken you way over time and I feel bad for crossing your boundaries. But yeah, energetic safety. It also is, it's like quicksilver. It slips through your fingers. You can feel that safety. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm not safe anymore on here. Mm-hmm. How interesting. What do I do with that? What a cliffhanger we're going to leave this on.
I love it. I love a good cliffhanger.
Me too. Leave them wanting more.
Great content strategy tip.
It wasn't purposeful. Or was it? Who knows? We'll never tell.
We'll never tell.
Well, you
join us next time.
Or not. Well, you have an amazing podcast if people want to hear more from you. So where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at braveschool.co or at The Story Doula. And our podcast is everywhere. You can find podcasts. You're going to hear me and Davey talking about some shit, but also talking about strategy and magic. So
love it. Favorite things. Thanks for being with us. That's today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you loved it. Go ahead and give Daje a follow at The Story Doula and Founding Space on IG. And if you liked this episode, please share it with your friends. We so appreciate when you spread the love. That's how we get found and discovered by you brilliant people, and how we're able to bring even better guests onto the podcast. Because when we say, look at these amazing numbers that we have, we're able to get guests who are fucking cool, like Daje and Michael of Old Ways and we've been so lucky to get so many amazing guests already, but we really want to talk to people who you care about and who you're interested in and who excite you and delight you, not the same people that you hear about over and over and over on the podcast circuit, because that shit's boring. So please share this with your friends, rate, review, subscribe. We are so grateful when you give us a 5-star review. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll see you on the internet. Okay, bye.